My first ever brain maxing video got over 150,000 views. So this is the follow-up, 10 times better. Because we're not just talking about what makes you smarter. We're going into the actual neuroscience of how your brain actually changes and why almost everything that the average person does right now is working against them. If you are new here, my name is Hassan. I'm a medical student. And to be honest, I'm a little bit too obsessed with high performance and how we can level up as a human being. But anyway, let's go. This is how you can brain max using science. Let me guess how you study or learn a new topic. You open up your notes, read through them, and maybe you highlight the most important part. You use different colors because you are an organized person. Or maybe you rewatch the lecture and at the end of it, you feel like you have done something productive. Well, I'm sorry to say that, but you haven't. You could have actually done it so much easier and better and learned the same stuff faster. Back in 1885, a German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus locked himself in a room and memorized thousands of nonsense words, which sounds like actual psychological torture. But he did that just to study how memory works. And what he found is called the forgetting curve. Without any review, you forget around 50% of new information within an hour. Within 24 hours, up to 70% is gone. A huge 2013 review rated 10 common study techniques, and highlighting and rereading came out as low utility. And the two that came out as high utility was spaced repetition and active recall. Spaced repetition is basically reviewing the same material at increasing intervals over time instead of cramming everything the night before. And every time you revisit something, your brain strengthens the neural pathways. One review actually looked at 254 studies, over 14,000 observations, and the pattern was pretty clear. Spacing out practice consistently beat massing everything into one session. Active recall is closing your notes and trying to recall everything from your memory. If you've actually tried it, it is actually a very humbling experience. It is terrifying, but it's also very good. Because in 2006, there was a study done and it showed that students who did retrieval practice retained significantly more after a week than students who restudied and revisited the topic and reread their notes. And the reason is that every time you successfully retrieve a memory, you're not just assessing it, you're actually rebuilding it. The retrieval itself reconstructs the neural connections and make them stronger. So Anki, flashcards, past papers, anything where you have to reproduce the answer is good. Method 2. Exercise is the brain's supercharger. Stop thinking of exercise as a physical thing you do to get six-pack. It is actually very good for your brain. It is almost the only one that is so powerful without no downsides. When you do aerobic exercise, such as running, cycling, anything that gets your heart rate up, your brain releases something called BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF supports the survival of neurons and promotes synaptic plasticity. A single session of aerobic exercise at moderate intensity, which is roughly 60% or 70% of your max, for just 20 minutes is enough to spike BDNF. But there was like a timing detail that I found genuinely interesting. One study had participants learn vocabulary, then either exercise at high intensity, low intensity, or just rest. The high intensity group forgot less vocabulary 24 hours later, and the participants who exercised after learning showed better retention than the ones who exercised before. So the window right after you study might actually be the best time to go for a run. Method number 3. You're drinking coffee wrong. Most of you drink coffee first thing in the morning, and I did that too. I still do it to this day sometimes, but it turns out that it is not the move. Your brain produces adenosine all day long, and the longer you're awake, the more adenosine builds up and the sleepier you will feel. When you first wake up, your cortisol is naturally high. That is your body's built-in wake-up signal. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors, but if cortisol is already elevated, you don't actually need to block it yet. You're just burning through your caffeine tolerance early for no reason. Current research shows that waiting 90 to 120 minutes after waking up before you get your first cup of coffee is the best thing to do, because you let your cortisol handle the morning and use caffeine when you actually need it. Method number 4. Sleep is actually when the learning is happening. And this one bothers me because I know it and I still get it wrong sometimes. I still compromise my sleep. And this is true for so many people. Students cut sleep when they need more time to study. And the logic makes sense on the surface because more hours awake means more hours to study. But it is completely wrong. And neuroscience shows that. Because sleep is when your brain actually consolidates what you learned during the day. During slow wave sleep, your brain replays neural patterns from the day, and it strengthens the connections that matter and prawn the ones that don't. BDNF, which is something that we talked about earlier, is actually regulated during sleep. So 8 to 9 hours of sleep is not lazy. That is when learning gets stored. I don't always hit it myself, but at least now when I sacrifice sleep, I feel genuinely bad about it. None of the things that I've mentioned is complicated. All of it is backed by neuroscience, and you don't need to do everything today. Just pick one, do it for a week, and see what happens.